Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, and thank you for joining me on another episode, Friday's episode of the Roundtable Show. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and we have an incredible show for you today. If you thought the past few shows were amazing, check out this show. But before I go ahead and introduce today's guest, I'm going to ask you to do what I always ask you to do, and that is to go ahead and share this show, because friends don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. So if they miss the education, they miss the fun, they miss the laughter, they miss the information, I can't blame me. I'll let you know that the Roundtable Talk Show is going to be amazing. So while you're sharing the show and doing your job, I'm going to go ahead and do my job and introduce my very first guest. You've seen her on the Roundtable Talk Show many times. This is my girl, my friend, my publicist, my PR team, one of my biggest supporters and cheerleaders, Miss Chandra Gore. Chandra is a consultant and publicist, and she strives to ensure her clients are at their best. Good morning, Chandra. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great this morning. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you here. And you are glowing. What is that glow you have going on?
It's for sleep. Sleep and water. That's it.
I love you. You are amazing. You are so amazing. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Well, the first thing I'll say, I'm passionate about helping others see their greatness and what they want to accomplish, and also figuring out the way that they want to appear to their colleagues, to those customers, to people who want to know them. And as a publicist and a business consultant, my job is to get you there, to get you where you need to be, to launch your dreams, and to put you on the path to success. That's what I do.
That is wonderful. Of course, you know we're going to come back to you, but I want to go ahead and introduce my next guest, Mr. Michael Wood. A former touring musician, starts an event equipment rental company and grows it from nothing to over $3 million a year in gross revenue, only to become the voice of small businesses in Canada from the onset of a global pandemic. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thanks so much for having me on. This is going to be a fantastic day.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I was a touring guitar player, and I worked with the legendary Casey Kasem for a long time with America's Top 40. I even had him do a long-distance request and dedication for me when an ex-girlfriend broke up with me. So that was in the past. Now, moving forward, I just like supporting people, and I like trying to help the community. I'm a community advocate up here in Ottawa, Canada. I'm a small business advocate, and just making sure that everybody's got enough of everything they need is what I'm about.
Absolutely. We're going to learn more about you, but I want to go ahead and introduce our very next guest, Mr. Grodentz, a former journalist and award-winning PR executive, now a motivational life coach dealing with self-limiting beliefs and confidence issues. Also a public speaking coach and vice president of the Voice of Wales Speakers Club in the UK. Good morning, Maurqease. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me on. Well, it's late afternoon here in the UK, and I am absolutely great. Thank you. It's just fantastic to be here. I love the way you just bring sort of 4 or 5 random people together, and I'm really excited about the conversation that we're about to have.
I'm excited as well. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
I started life as a journalist, so I trained as a journalist. I worked at national and local newspaper level. I moved into a career in public relations in the political sector. So I worked for a long time in the local government field at a senior level. And I set up my coaching business about 6 years ago. what I really love to do is work one-on-one with people, dealing with confidence stuff, helping people bust through those self-limiting beliefs that hold them back. But also, as a speaking coach, public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people have, and I just like to help people find their voice, and not just find their voice, but the content of what they have to say. What are the stories that sit behind people?
I love it. We're going to learn more, but first we're going to go ahead and introduce our next guest, the lovely Miss Alesha Brown. Alesha, the Joy Guru, is a best-selling author, international editor, book and magazine publisher, and transformational speaker who encourages audiences by igniting the fire within and helping them take center stage. Good morning, Alesha. How are you?
Good morning. I am wonderful, and just thank you, and it's a blessing to be on your show today.
It's a blessing to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Well, I am a child abuse survivor. Which is a positive thing for me. Definitely, certain life circumstances we go through is how we gain our strength and we find our purpose. And I was blessed several years back to be able to publish my first and second book. And what it did was draw a lot of people to me, different backgrounds, different topics, who wanted to know how to publish their book as well. So that created the business that is now known as Fruition Publishing Concierge Services, where we make publishing simple, but we really help people to find their voice, and more importantly, how to monetize that.
Get that money. That's right. Now, Tell me about the concierge services. What's going on with that?
Well, what I found in this industry, especially for those that were minorities in underrepresented populations, is that so many people were offering you services to publish a book, but no one would share that the real work happens after launch, after publishing. So you had a beautiful book cover, hopefully. You felt great about your message, but no one heard it. And what I found was, even teaching people simple things in different parts, people want their hand held, especially those that are talking about sensitive topics, whether it's their memoir or whether they did come from an abusive situation. And sometimes it's not even those deep topics, but they just need to have, affirmation. They need confirmation, and then they need to feel that, I just didn't pay you my money and you left me hanging. I don't know what else to do now. So that's where the concierge service comes in. You're not another number to us, but your story, and more importantly, those that you are purposed to reach with that story is what matters to us, because we are in the business of transformation, not just publishing pretty books.
I love it. I love it. Maurqease, one of the things that you talked about or you spoke about is that confidence or that fear of public speaking. Why is that such a common fear?
Most people, I think, don't like to be the center of attention. They don't like people looking at them, staring at them. And I think it's also, for a lot of people, it's about talking about yourself. They don't like sharing. They don't like opening up. They're scared of making mistakes. They're scared of people making fun of them, of looking silly. And you get that whole sort of melting pot of negative emotions. And I think most people end up by saying, you know what, I just think I'll leave it.
Chandra, you afraid of standing out?
No. I'm the most extroverted introvert ever. So I don't intentionally stand out. I'm just being myself. So
Okay, well, I like that. I'm an extroverted introvert myself, so I understand. Now, for businesses, we hear that number $3 million, Michael. We want to reach that goal. We want to get our revenue up. But for many of us, it's about standing out, and having a confidence level. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree, and I agree with Maurqease that people feel vulnerable when they're in front of others and they're trying to relay a message, and it could just take the smallest little thing while you're making your address or you're speaking in public for it to go sideways. And so, people do need to have the confidence. They have to know that there's a reason why they're here, and, they got to this level through hard work. And, I also, Alesha, the idea of the book, the hard work starting, after the book comes out. I completely agree. And it was always like that in music too. We worked so hard on getting the perfect record and getting the music down, but the real work started once the record was actually released. So I agree with everybody.
Exactly.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, Alesha.
Well, it does come to confidence. And I don't care if you're just born or blessed to be the most confident person in the world, or you suffer from self-esteem issues. Life just has its way, especially at different levels, where you're shaken sometimes. So I always, with our clients, for those that are dealing with that, I have to put myself back in the place I was and understand the purpose, including the why of why I do what I do, and give myself that validation, because I have to remind myself, at least for what I do, it was books and reading in the library as a child when I was suicidal and thought that suicide was the only means of escape from my situation. It was the stories of other survivors that kept me many nights still on this earth. So then when I put it in that perspective, it would sort of be robbery, and it would not sort of be, it would be robbery for me not to do the same and pay it forward for myself, for clients, in helping you get over yourself, but reach those people that your message, what you do, your brand is meant for. Because you never know how far that transformation goes, and you don't know the difference it can make in that person's life. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's a little bit more serious. If it was just let me talk about myself, maybe I might shrink from that. But it's just the proper perspective.
You know what, Alesha? I've never in my life seen someone discuss suicide with the biggest smile on their face. You'll be like, you laughing.
Well, I think that's the part of life that oftentimes we forget. It's the blessing that we're here. And I often say that people make a choice. You want to be in victim mode or you want to be in thriving mode. And some people, it was painful for me to understand, but I've learned it the hard way. Some people are in love with their pain. They are in love with being a victim because that's how they get attention. But there's a cost to that. It's heavy, it's weighty. And some people, they're going to relive that story over and over. They don't want to be healed. They don't want to be whole. They want to be a victim because that is what they associate with attention, and they will play that to their last days. There are other of us who have been through, what we've been through, maybe even similar situations. But when you understand that transformation and you're blessed to be alive, that's why I said, my pain doesn't define me, but being a child abuse survivor, I take pride in that. Not that I want to do it again, but it is what helped me identify my purpose. And that's why I am the Joy Guru, because that was my reward for what I survived. So I'm happy to be here every day just because of that.
Can I say something real quick? What you said was what you said about the pain. Some people they live that, they thrive off of the attention they get. But the thing is, I think for some people, healing is not an easy thing. Healing is ugly.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people kind of they don't want to go through the ugly stage. Something when you cut your hair and it's that in between stage and you don't know which way you want to go. But, finding that there's greatness on the other side of that pain and wallowing in that feeling of despair or that victim mode. So a lot of times we need to expose some of these people who are on that wheel of I'm a victim. Show them being able to show them the other side, because I don't think they see it because they're on that merry-go-round of that's just all it's a blur. Like, okay, roundabout, we're gonna talk about it again. We're gonna keep talking about it again. It's like opening up a wound, and I think in that pain they feel validation a little bit, that they're still alive. Because some people, the self-inflicted pain that makes them feel like they're alive. Yes. I think that's what we don't really talk about. And so I really when people say they always have a problem with anything, I always bring it up. Like, what do you want your end result to be? You can't be miserable all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Change is scary, though, isn't it? For a lot of people, change is really scary. And the pain and the pain that you understand is far better than the pain of stepping over that line. I mean, there'd be monsters out there. So stepping over that line is really scary for people. I'll just stay where I understand what the pain is.
That's
Absolutely.
True.
Michael, you did all of this in a global pandemic.
Well, yes, there was that. But, the other thing I just wanted to touch on quickly was I'm also a part-time college professor up here in Canada. And, what I have found, I've been there for 14 years. What I have found over these 14 years is that the mental health of youth actually is declining. And every year I have students come to me with, having a discussion on, self-harm or suicide or so on. And, every year I ended up taking more and more students up to the counseling department. And, so I think what people, what helps people is knowing that, there's no judgment. I've always been there to listen. And I think that we have to understand as a global whole that everybody's got something running in the background. I've often compared it to our telephones, and we've got all these apps running and the battery keeps draining faster and faster. And I think life is very much like that. I think we have so much running in the background of our lives. It puts tremendous pressure on people that we may not understand because they're not visibly showing it or wanting to talk about it.
Alesha, you were going to say something?
No, I mean, everybody's hitting it nail on the head. Even in the things I do for a nonprofit, children are just near and dear to my heart because I know what it's like to be that child going through and, putting on that brave face and pretending everything's good. And, oftentimes that's what parents and adults will encourage you to do. But suicide is such a high rate among youth at the time where we're thinking, they have no real problems. It's the best time of their lives. It's not. There's a lot of children, and we should know that from the trauma and things that we as adults have been through, things we're still experiencing, although we're grown. But a lot of times children are just ignored. And the pressures of society now, pandemic, we know as adults, different things we're going through. Can you imagine what our youth are going through? And they're often not given a voice. So for me, same thing with our clients. It's very important what messaging we put forward because it's someone that needs it. And I think as a society, if we can be healed and whole as adults and pass on that transformation and pass on that positivity, it's going to impact several generations under us and those that are before us.
I don't want to trivialize the discussion, but if you've not come across it, Simon Sinek has done a great talk about the millennial generation and a generation that's growing up feeling in. And I'm just wondering whether there's a big chunk of that feeds into the sort of discussion that we're having now.
Marcus, I want to go back because for some reason it seems like there was a glitch. You said they're feeling, and I didn't hear what they were feeling.
Yeah. Simon Sinek, if you've come across him, has done a great talk about the millennial generation and a generation that's growing up feeling entitled.
Oh, entitled.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering whether there's a big chunk of what's going on now that sits around that sort of attitude.
Anyone have thoughts on the entitlement of today's generation?
Okay, this generation. Listen. I have children of my own, and I watch their interaction, and I've seen how some children feel like it's owed to me. I didn't ask to be born, and I'm like, wait a minute now, and they've turned into, some of them are adults now, and that's what they are like. The mindset is like, and even some adults, like, they have the mindset like everything is I'm entitled to you to support me. I'm entitled, for you to do what I say. I'm like, no. And I think it's been supported and encouraged, because be your own, it's sad. I just don't understand how we got to this point where I can do what I want. I'm entitled to to my feelings, but at what expense? You know, and I think a lot of people are not thinking that, like they're not going down that path and thinking about that part. There's adults who feel like they're entitled to everybody supporting them, and they don't do anything to give back or to, you know, to do anything that's constructive or productive, or, you know, because they just feel like, you know, they're entitled to the attention. And I'm like, they get on my, I'm tired.
It looks like we struck a chord there, Chandra.
Because, you know, this is probably why I don't get invited to a lot of things, because I say exactly what's on my mind. And I'm just like, you know, you're not going to have me in a group of people and it's like, well, why are we together? Like, what is going on here? Like, I'm not going to be in, you know, it could be virtual, it could be on the phone, it could be anything. Tell me the purpose of you having my attention and me interacting with you. I'm not just going to do it because you feel like I am a subject matter expert and I'm XYZ and I am this and I'm that. Prove it. Tell me why.
Wow, we don't went in a whole different direction. No, I understand. I understand, because you know I don't go to a lot of different meetings because it's only 24 hours in a day, not because of my ego, because I'm watching that. I saw you nodding and agreeing, Alesha. I'd love to hear your thoughts on adult or child entitlement.
Oh, I'm just trying. I'm like, okay, how can I respond and not go left?
Left. That's what you have to do.
And then I'm like, well, this show we're supposed to be transparent and real, so I'm going to just have the midway part. I sort of see it sort of differently. Entitlements there, especially with different generations and things like that. But I go back to my childhood, and I was raised by older parents. I'm, according to them, Generation X, so I miss millennials by just a few years. But my thing is, I have to think about, well, who are these children? That when they put different generations and talk about entitlement, I go back to who these children are. Because I remember growing up, there was the latchkey kid thing. My parents didn't do it, but that was around the time that, you know, there was latchkey. And then you just see in the different generations, well, you know, we told them to be independent. You can do your own thing. Have your own identity. You don't have to define yourself by this. That's what we did. And we're going to make it easier for them because we grew up so hard. And I'm like, all of these allowances we had, even to the point of everybody gets an award. You don't have to, we don't want too much competition. So everybody gets the award because you're all great. We put all these things in place. So now when we're complaining about entitlement, and I'm not saying everybody did it, but I'm saying overall as a society. Now when you're playing about entitlement, it's like, well, who raised these kids? Who put these balls in motion? And the individual pieces didn't seem that bad. But when you string them together, this is the byproduct. So there you go. That's what you get. Just like when we took God out of everything. Well, if people are running around crazy, well, you took them out of everything. There's a price for freedom, is what I'm saying. Laws, order, structure, you know, within reason, they're there for a reason. So that's my spin on it. That's the best PC version I can give you without going completely off.
You notice that we don't have like older grandparents. I do feel like the disconnect came from, because I was raised by my grandfather. So I don't understand going to the club with my parent. Like, I don't get that. Like, I don't, that's not my ministry. That's not my, I don't understand that, because there was parent and child. They didn't blend. They not my friend.
Yes.
He wasn't my friend. I'm not your little friend. So there's I think the blending of the generation, like, I think because parents were younger when they had children, I think that they blurred the lines to the point where that some generations feel like they're contemporaries to, you know, to someone who is more sage. I'm not going to say older, sage, more seasoned. And so that level of respect was not kind of, it was not, you know, it was not pushed because so many parents are friends with their children. You know, so they think that other adults and other people are going to do the same thing. And we need more big mamas and pawpaws. Yes. That's all I'm going to say.
I'd like to hear sort of Michael's views, because I think Alesha and I have both touched on the same thing. That, you know, these days you get medals for taking part. You don't get medals for winning. You get medals just for, you know, for taking part. And I think you know, by the time you start going to university and by the time that you have to start competing with other people, it comes as a bit of a cold shower, doesn't it? That all of a sudden, the competition is a real thing. Somebody's not just going to give me something. I've actually got to work for it. I've actually got to compete for it. And Michael, do you think that's one of the reasons that you've got more people knocking on your door saying, you know what, I think I need some counseling?
You know, Marcus, that's a great question. And I'll tell you, I agree with what everybody's saying. I grew up in a time when, you know, there were winners, there were losers, and that's the way it happened. And, you know, with keeping score in sports games anymore, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that, you know, we need to go back and we need to, you know, reset a little bit because, you know, Chandra, you're 100% right. Parents and children should not be friends. And, you know, there is a position that the parent needs to take that they are the ones in control. So, yes, I think that once they get to the college, university level, there is a little bit of a culture shock that, wow, why didn't I make the team? Why didn't I, you know, how did I not get this scholarship? I've always just done it my way. And I think moving along that we'll see some changes back to the way things were. I could be wrong, but who knows?
I hope.
But remember, today, it's not even about the university level anymore because everybody is encouraged. You don't need college. You can be a YouTube influencer and make a whole bunch of money because we're back into the do your own thing. So start your business, do whatever. You don't even need college. So it's like, if that's the mindset for a lot of youth, you're eliminating the whole thing of being around people where there is true competition and everybody's expecting an overnight success from going viral on social media. So you just add it to the conundrum.
I mean, also, like, it starts at T-ball. You know, what I'm saying? Like, everybody gets a participate trophy. No, little Billy, you lost. You don't get to go have pizza. You go sit on the loser bench because you did not score in the game. The team lost. Y'all don't get a trophy for showing up. I just really wish they would take the whole participation trophy. You know, you showed up. You woke up today. I'm going to get a trophy. This is what's causing a lot. Y'all can fight me if you want. I don't care. But poor sportsmanship, you know, encourages this behavior. Even out to adults, like you have people who go into these places of business, places of employment, and the minute that a manager says, listen, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I'm going to reprimand you. Oh, I'm going to sue you because you hurt my feelings. First of all, if you came in on time and did your work by the deadline, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'm not going to reward you for showing up. You know, it's just that whole mentality translates into adults who really don't know how to adult. You know, they don't know how to take criticism. They don't know how to take critiques. They get upset when somebody says, listen, you cannot do that or you need to do better. But they need to stop it at T-ball. No. You don't get a trophy. You need to work harder. Just saying.
Absolutely. Now, interesting conversation, but I am going to stop for a brief commercial break and we will be right back.
You need jordansrooter.com. Get free estimates, 24-hour service, special discounts for seniors and veterans. That's jordansrooter.com. Have a home repair or some remodeling you need done? No problem. We can handle all that too. Give us a call today at 800-300-0358. At Jordan's Rooter, we take pride in our work and always make sure to get the job done right the first time. That's jordansrooter.com. We want to be your Mr. Fix-It.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
a good business consultant.
And I kept searching and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list. But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well, look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend. Problem gone.
Thank you.
Wow, this is an interesting conversation. And the funny thing is that it's almost identical to yesterday's conversation. But yesterday's conversation on being friends with our children, people were in agreement with it. Today, everybody's completely against it. Now, I told everybody my views yesterday, and I think it's a generational thing. When I was raised, my parents said children are to be seen and not heard, right? And then my children now are 24 and 27. So my parents said, you want to be your child's friend. And I've always said I'm their best friend. I remember when my son was 21 and we had this long, deep conversation. And he said to me, he said, Mom, thank you for talking to me. And I said, no, son, thank you for talking to me. You know, because how many 21-year-old men sit and talk to their mom and have conversations with their mother that they usually have with one of the guys or the homies or someone else. So I believe in, you know, having conversations, but I also believe I'm also with you on the whole, you know, participation awards. Like that to me, I think these are two different issues in two different areas, Chandra.
I think so too, but you know, you like I have these I have conversations with my children. Like my son, my oldest is 19, my daughter's 17, and my youngest son is 14, about to be 15. So
now,
yes,
saying not to cut you off, but that's what I do. But I wouldn't go to the club with them. We don't go to the club. We don't hang out.
I would.
You know, I wouldn't. I don't do all that. You know, but
Same
it's the conversation. It's the talking. It's the talk to me. I want you to talk to me.
I mean, and my kids, they share stuff with me. They give me their point of view. I'm not taking away their voice, but I want them to understand there's levels to this respect. You know, I am your parent. I had to remind one of them, I'm not your little friend. So you get to talk to me. You can talk to me about anything, but when you start to get into beside yourself, then we gotta take that back a little bit. I'm still your mom, you know, because it's like, you know, once they realize, like in talking to other adults, I'm always on them about, you know, giving adults the respect that are due. Not saying that if an adult disrespects you, you have to take it. You come and tell me and I'll handle it. But, you know, I think you have to draw that boundary. You have to show them this is how this works. This is how you're supposed to conduct yourself. And just people, y'all listen, I get it. There's some grandmothers that are my age. I'm like, I couldn't do it.
Right.
You know, I just could not do it because I can't, I'm not there yet. You know, I don't have that authoritative presence as of yet that you get when you've gone through life. So it's like when kids don't see that and they think that this is it, you know, clubbing and, you know, doing TikTok videos. I'm not knocking nobody who does that. I'm not. But learn to teach those boundaries so that they don't go out and think that this is how they could talk to other people, other adults and stuff. I'm just
no, I get it. My view has always been you can say whatever you want to say to me. You just cannot say it however you want to say it. You still have to be respectful. I hear you agreeing, Alesha. I love to hear your thoughts.
To me, it just, you know, whether we're talking about the parenting round here, that this definitely applies to, but also business. To me, it goes back to leadership and transparency. Mm-hmm. You know, we all learn from our circumstances. Definitely in parenting, you learn from how you were parented, and you can make your own decision when it's your turn to step in that role. Every child is different, just like every person is different. Mm-hmm. So there are different tactics. There's things you do accordingly. But if you're going to lead, it goes back to where, you know, for parenting anyway, we're not equals. So there has to be some authority. There has to be some power. There has to be someone that's in the position of expert and authority, and you have to be teachable and ready to learn. And then that leader, that one that's supposed to be in the power position to teach something, you need to be transparent. Because one thing that, you know, depending on how you were raised, what time, that we can definitely look back in the previous generations, they weren't transparent. And I'm not going to fault them for that. But generations later learned, well, I don't have to tell my child everything going on, but let me, as it's age appropriate, start sharing things with them. Letting them know everything in this world is not perfect. Everything is not rosy. You know, let me give them some truths that, they can take with them. Let me share wisdom. And that's what I see a lot of times. People, if you're focused on just the friendship, and people do the same thing in business, and it's a red flag for me. I can be friendly. We can have different type of relationships, but at the end, if you hired me to do something, that's who I am primarily.
So you still getting that invoice. You still getting that invoice.
Hey,
I'm sending that invoice.
So I think to be transparent and understand the position that you're there for and do that.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a slightly separate issue, but a really important one. We're talking about talking to each other. At the heart of it, it's communication. One of the things that worries me, particularly with young people, is that they're losing the art of communication. They're losing the art of conversation. They're losing the art of talking to each other, because communication now is down to texting and TikTok videos and all of those social media platforms. And we're actually losing the real art of communication. And for me, that's a really big worry.
Michael, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I didn't want to cut anybody off and jump in. Leasa, you talked about business and leadership. The difference between parenting, I think, and business leadership is, for whatever reason, business has always been, if we want to emit some sort of confidence, people think that comes from power or authority. But now I feel we're moving into more of a collaborative culture, and we can still have that authority as business leaders, but it is exemplified, I think, now by warmth and empathy for, our staff and our customers and so on. We have to be understanding, and the idea of leadership, I think, is changing. The idea of communication is changing. I agree, Marcus, being a college prof, the kids, I was telling them the other day, pick up the phone, call people, because I teach in a music, media, and film program, and they're like, wow, do I really have to call people? I'm like, yeah, we're losing this networking ability to have real relationships with people.
Yeah. As a journalist, I grew up back in the day when the internet hadn't yet been invented. So you contacted people on the telephone, and if they weren't at the end of a landline, there was no way of getting hold of them. And I was speaking to an editor recently, and she was telling me that one of her reporters couldn't finish a story because he said, the person I'm trying to get hold of isn't replying to my emails. And she said to him, well, phone him. And he was absolutely horrified. This is a journalist. And he was absolutely horrified at the idea of actually picking up a phone and talking to someone.
What do you think that is? Ooh, I don't know.
We're so out of touch. What I do, I pick up the phone as a publicist. I actually pick up the phone. Hey, this is Chandra. I'm calling from, this is my agency. I would like to pitch a story to you. Do you have time to talk? Do you have time to, to chat a little bit before I email you? Because you want to build that connection and, show that there's a real voice or a real person behind an email. You know how many times I've gotten a surprise like, you're calling me about a story? Yes, because you're going to understand, you're going to make a connection with me. And a lot of times people are so have gotten into that feeling of it's safe here. It's safe that I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to, I don't have to go outside of that. And so a lot of times people don't think that is an option. Pick up the phone, learn to do that. Because in the grand scheme of things, you want to connect with someone. You have to do that part. And teaching kids how to talk. I was taught how to talk on the telephone. I don't know if because I came from the generation before and after the internet. So I was taught, we had classes where they would teach you this is phone etiquette. They don't even teach that or cursive anymore. So people are growing up and evolving into people who are not effective communicators. Email, texting those are great, but pick up the phone. That's why phones work. Because I've always said people actually sit there and look at their phone ringing like, okay, I'm gonna wait for it to stop, then I'm gonna text them. Pick up the phone and talk to somebody. I'm not gonna text you a paragraph that I can say in 2 seconds. Nobody got time for that. I'm sorry, nope.
I love Chandra. My issue, I love all of those, but my issue for me is when people call me. This is the one that gets me, is they call me and then they go, Sharifah, I'd like to schedule a call with you. And I'm like, on the phone. Like, we're talking on the phone. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to discuss? Then based on my time parameters, I can let you know, okay, well, let's talk about that on Monday, or because I tell you, I change horses in the middle of the stream all the time. You can have my attention. I believe magic and miracles happen in the moment. You have my attention right now. Talk. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me.
It's not.
It's not.
Because if you get me on the phone and I'm talking to you, go ahead and give me your list of needs, complaints, wants, whatever you need to do. Because don't tell me I'm about to email you. What do you want now? Don't waste my time. Like, why you do? Let me take the notes and then we'll talk. Like, don't. Ooh, people. We need to just, reset and go about this again. Because,
I think this wound up being our therapy session. I think we all need counseling, Michael.
I'm not gonna lie.
I think we need to clone Chandra.
We need to clone Chandra. There's only one. There's only one. That's why I keep close to me. Because I call her, I say, Chandra, tell me the truth. Am I crazy? And she's like, you're crazy, but you're not wrong. So
you could be crazy and right. Okay, you just enjoy that. I'm just saying. I love, like, Marcus. I think you're like the biggest thing. I'm like, you are one of those. You definitely need to write a book. I don't know if you've written a book yet, but you need to write a book on, refreshing some of the comms protocols and different things, because your advice is greatly needed. Because that's something that I would suggest you to do, because I will buy it, because and gift it to people who definitely need to learn, how to deal with others, especially because everyone walks into the publicist field as if it's a cakewalk, and it's not. If you don't know how to effectively communicate with people, you're not going to be successful. You got to pick up the phone. You got to interact. You just got to be a little bit, be present. Emailing and sitting behind a computer is not going to move the meter.
Absolutely. Michael, I love to hear your thoughts.
Well, first of all, Chandra, I think that you're the best. I think that we could have some sort of statue put up of you, because everything you're saying is 100%, bang on. And people have to communicate. I don't understand how we've come down to this. It's funny because I was doing I do a lot of media up here in Canada, and I was doing a radio show this morning, and I got a Twitter DM on last night around 11 o'clock at night saying, hey, can you be on the show? And the thing is that, just people, we have to get over this. I don't know if it's an insecurity like we were talking about earlier, but we have to be able to communicate with people. We've got to be able to have a network. And my goodness, Chandra, this has probably been the best conversation I've had in 3 weeks.
Thank you. Alesha, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think it just boils down to social norms and then conforming. I remember a conversation I had with my business coach, and I was like, she hit the nail on the head, because she'll keep saying, I remember working in business before the internet. Well, before the internet, I was in school. So I didn't have a business. But it's she's absolutely correct. Those that started businesses after the internet, after social media, a lot of times, depending on what their training and teaching was and their mentors, that's what you conform to. So, I'm always looking at clients. I'm not saying social media is bad and there's not advantages, but I'm like, you're doing all of this on TikTok. You're doing Instagram reels and you're dancing or whatever, which has nothing to do with your business. But have you sent an email? Have you picked up a phone call? Have you built relationships in your industry? I'm asking them questions and they're looking at me like, what? Because I'm like, if you're going to do the shaking and dancing on TikTok or Instagram reels to have a, return on investment or a certain result, and it's like deer in headlights. it's not, this likes does not translate to money. There's supposed to be a strategy when you're using these things. So what did you plan to do once you got someone's attention? Where was the conversation going from there? What was the steps? And they didn't think that out. So I think it just depends on, the social norms, who's your mentor, what coaching you got, things like that. Whoever taught you certain things that you're doing, and there's still no return on investment. It's like, why are you doing these things? And I'll add a side note, as a single, it's like I find people that are older, and it's the same thing. They're texting you, they want to talk by text. Well, everybody has preferred communication, but there's sometimes I'm like, yo, after about 4 or 5 back and forth through text, this requires a phone call. We don't sit and text for an hour, But people don't even think when you say that, like, oh yeah, I should pick up the phone. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? What happened to us?
But I think a lot of things in business come down to.
Alesha, you're absolutely right. I mean, I work as a coach. Social media has never brought me a client. My website has never brought me a client. Facebook has never brought me a client. I get my clients by having extraordinary conversations with people. You've got to build up that one-to-one relationship, and that's I think we're probably all agreed that we've got to talk to each other to get to know each other. You've got to know, like, and trust someone before you move on to another step.
I'm the exact opposite. Maurqease, I get 99% of my clients through social media, through Facebook, through other communications. But that's because I'm like Alesha said about the likes, and the likes aren't monetized. That just means that person is sending out the wrong message. They're talking to the wrong audience. They're putting dance videos when they should be talking about their business. So that's what my focus is. And what I review social media accounts all the time, and people will say, well, everyone said do social media, and I did social media, but I haven't gotten one client. And I'm like, yeah, but your business is a catering company, and on your social media, all you have is unicorns. Like, that is the problem, And so even when people on social media, I don't look at it as a way to get the business. I look at it as a way to meet people. And once I have met that person, then I utilize that as a way to start a conversation, because 99% of the people, my clients, I met through social media, Maurqease.
He's like both sides are absolutely correct. And one of the things that I also go into when I'm working with a client is I do an analysis of their social media, and I'm like, your message is muddled, but you can't expect clients from having a muddled message, like you said, well, you're a catering company, but you have unicorns. So a lot of times people at the beginning, when you it goes back to effective communications. At the beginning, you're supposed to, identify and create your message that you want to be received, what you want to be received from yourself. So a lot of people are just out here on social media dancing and all this other stuff, but they have a chiropractor business, but no one knows that. Like, my business is, no, it's not. We just watch you. You're good for entertainment. We don't know that you have a thriving practice, or, that you can help, that you have a shoe line and all this other stuff. Like, it's the gimmicky, and it's not effective, and it's not productive. Yes, likes are great. Don't get me wrong, but you should be making sure your message and your strategic communications are on point. Because there was I went viral for what?
Right.
For what? What was the girl that had the Gorilla Glue girl?
Yes.
Now she's selling merchandise and hair stuff. I'm like, listen, if you have to do that to get people to look at you and, to do that, then we have gone off the deep end. Because people are going to think that's the most effective way to get people to pay attention and listen to them.
Yes.
Let me do something that's, that's going to, hey, look at me, and then I'll tell the message. No, that's not how this works. And it gives that false sense of, this is how I can sell more products, or I can book more clients if I do something and I go viral. No, because I'm going to take you as a joke, and I'm not going to do business with you. Well, me personally, I don't know about everybody else, but yeah, I will never buy into that.
Right. But if you're displaying your catering business and you have different pictures of cakes and cupcakes and events that you've done and people are clear on what you do, then you can convert that social media into customers. Michael, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, one of the things I just wanted to add here was that while people have their social media accounts, and yes, I agree, some of them are cluttered, unless people really know who you are or who your business is, people are looking for what you do and not who you are. And people will find you based on what you do. So target yourself that way. You know, this viral thing and going viral with, you know, the Shania Twain song on TikTok or whatever the case is. This isn't going to help you in the long run. Focus your energy on what you do. Make that discoverable through this wonderful thing we call the internet. And then, of course, we can always branch out just a little bit here or there, you know, to create some sort of bond or a little bit of a laugh, but just focus on what you do and you will find that things will fall into place for you a lot easier than just trying to go and shake it on your next TikTok video.
No shaking it. We're anti-shakers here on the Roundtable Talk Show. This has been an amazing show. It has been incredible. I enjoyed it. Now we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we're going to start with you, Maurqease.
Okay, thank you. One of my very favorite quotes is this: a year from now, you'll be sorry you didn't start today. So what is it that you've been putting off from doing? And what I'm offering is 7 free 1-hour coaching sessions with me, 60 extraordinary minutes, and I can promise that I'll probably ask a bunch of questions that nobody's ever asked before.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this giveaway. So is this 7 for the same person or 7 different people?
7 different 1-hour sessions. So 7 people, 1 hour with me, free of charge. And let's see what we can find out and achieve in 1 hour.
Okay, that's clear. That's good clarification, because you know one person's about to sign up and have you help them change their life for the next 7 seconds. Thank you, Maurqease. Alesha, what do you have for us?
Yes. Of course, we talked about a lot of great things. This is an awesome show. But the one thing I always want to leave with people is that your words are part of your legacy. Just like the Bible, there are people we've never met, but we are impacted by their story because of what was documented. And what's not recorded is the thing that often is not remembered, and it fades when the memories fade. So that's one thing. Our mission at Fruition Publishing is to help each recipient to realize the power of his or her voice and then connect that to his or her brand, platform, passion, and mission. So we love to help people do that. There is a link that I can definitely drop in there for a free gift, which is really going to explain to you. It's a free ebook of why you cannot afford to wait on your purpose. You have to execute that. Okay, and of course, for all things joy, for all things just with me, and you can learn more about the publishing company, you can go to thejoyguru.net.
Okay, so we're going to get Maurqease's books published?
He needs to.
I say he better do it. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. This has been an absolutely wonderful time. What a great show. It's too bad that I sold my event company 3 weeks ago, or I possibly could have had cotton candy for everybody. I no longer am in that position, but I will tell you this, and my takeaway is this. I started advocating for small businesses across Canada in March of 2020, right from the onset of COVID-19 up here. I appeared before federal finance committees and obviously our provincial finance committees up here in Canada. And the one thing is that hard work will get you everywhere you want to go. Professionalism, dedication, and I wish I had cotton candy, but I'm going to at least leave you with these words that just your focus, your drive will get you to exactly where you want to be.
We'll take those words. Now, honestly, I would have preferred some cotton candy, but I will take those words to live by. Thank you, Michael. Chandra, go ahead and take us on out.
Well, my only words were to say, to leave with everyone is to be authentic with your message and your voice. Understand that it does take work to get to where you want to be. So if you're not prepared to work, then, do something else, read a book, go do something else. But, understand that hard work will pay off. And if you do it for passion, it's going to grow even further. And you can check out my podcast and my publication at Conversations with Chan, or if you want to book a consultation for public relations services or business consulting, where I help you find out what your vision, your passion is, you can go to my website at chandragoreconsulting.com. I like to talk to people before I work with them to make sure that we can be in a relationship together, because working together is a relationship, and we got to make sure that we mesh well and there are no red flags from from both sides that you don't want to do it. So that's it. That's all I have. This was awesome. I love the show. I'll be back.
You'll be back?
Of course.
I just love me some Chandra. I have had such a wonderful time. This is a great show. I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. I definitely appreciate your support. But as always, I ask that you don't just watch the show and you don't just share the show. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing. But please support our guests. Our guests are here to share their stories, to be of service to you. So support them. Their website links are in the description. Follow them on social media, reach out to them. Hey, you might take a phone call. I don't know. But when you speak to them, please let them know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show, please visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed weekend. Bye now.